The next tab we'll explore is the Color tab. This is where you color correct and color grade your footage. Currently I'm on Edit. Now once I click on Color here, I switch to the Color tab of DaVinci Resolve. In the middle here we have the monitor, and to the right we have our nodes. This is where we add and manage nodes. And this is the clip area. It shows thumbnails from all the clips in the timeline in Edit. So if we switch to Edit here, we have 5 different clips. And if we switch back to Color, we have 5 thumbnails where every thumbnail represents a clip from Edit. And these 2 windows here contain our color effects. Every window contains multiple effects that you can switch between using these icons on top of the window. And the same also goes for the left window. Note that if you're working on a screen with lower resolution, you might see these 2 windows joined in one window that contains all these effects on top of one window. However, everything is still the same, you just have these 2 windows joined due to the low resolution of your monitor. And you can access scopes in Resolve by clicking on this button here on top of the keyframes window. So these are the scopes, and you can switch between the different scopes through this drop-down menu here. Let's start with nodes. This is a node. A node is a container of color effects. Currently I have one node with no grading applied to it. This node will remember all the effects and controls we apply down here. So for example, I'll change something in the color wheels. I'll increase saturation and make the image orange. And I'll switch to curves and change curves a bit. Now all the changes we made down here and here were saved to this node. And this includes every single effect down here in every single window. Let's add a new node. I'll go to Color, Nodes, and I'll select Add Serial Node. The standard node is called the Serial Node. I'll simply click on Add Serial Node, and now I have a new node. Let's understand how the image flows. I'll drag these 2 nodes to the right to make things a bit more clear. This point here represents the original image before applying any effects to it. And this point represents the final output of our color grading. So whatever reaches this point is the final image displayed on the monitor. The effects from the first node will be applied to our original image first, before the effects from the second node will be applied to the output of the first node. And then the second node will send the result to the output to be displayed on the monitor. So if I select this node by clicking on it, an orange border appears around it, which means that now this node is being selected. Now whatever I do here will be applied to the second node because it's the one being selected now. So while this node is selected, I'll go to saturation and reduce saturation all the way. You'll notice that the final image that is actually coming to the output and being displayed on the monitor is black and white. That's because we removed all the colors in the second node. So for example, I'll add a new node. I'll go to Color, Nodes, and add a Serial Node. And in the new node, I'll add more contrast. And maybe I'll change the offset a bit. So the first node applied certain effects. The second node took the output from the first node and applied new effects on the output coming from the first node. And the third node added extra effects on top of it. Using nodes has many benefits. This is only the most obvious one. If I needed to reset the effects on a certain node, I can simply right-click on the node and select Reset Node Grade. And this will reset all the effects on this particular node. And if I needed to reset everything to the initial setup, I can simply go to Color, Reset, and select all grades and nodes. And we're back to the initial setup. Then we have the color wheels window. It contains 2 types of color wheels. If I click on this drop-down menu, I can switch between primaries wheels and log wheels. They look the same. In this video, we will only be discussing primaries wheels. So these are the color wheels. Every color wheel contains 2 sections. The wheel itself controls the colors of the image, and the slider controls the brightness of the image. So let's take a look at an example. If I drag the color wheel towards red, notice that I'm making the colors of the image red. And if I drag it towards blue, now the colors of the image are blue. And if I drag the slider to the left, I'm changing the brightness of the image. I'm making the image darker. And if I drag it to the right, I'm increasing the brightness. I can click this button to reset everything inside this window. So, why do we have 4 color wheels? The first color wheel to the right control the colors of the entire image. So the changes I make here will affect everything. However, the 3 color wheels to the left control different brightness ranges in the image. This might seem complicated, but it's pretty simple. The first wheel to the left controls the colors and brightness of the dark objects in the image. So for example, if I bring the brightness down, I'm not bringing the brightness down in the entire image, I'm only bringing the brightness down in the dark areas of the image. Notice that my changes here did not affect the bright areas. The wheel on the right controls the colors and brightness of the bright areas in the image. So if I drag the wheel towards yellow, for example, I change the colors of the bright areas of the image without affecting the dark areas. And the one in the middle controls the rest of the image. Let's click this button to reset everything. Then we have extra controls at the bottom that are divided into 2 windows. If I click on the number 1 here, I have controls for contrast, pivot, and saturation. So I can increase the contrast in the image, change where the contrast effect originates from, whether highlights or shadows, and I can increase the saturation of the image. And if I click on the button with number 2, I have extra controls. The most important ones are temperature and tint. Then we have these 2 icons on top of the lift and gain wheels. These icons allows us to add advanced color correction effects with a simple click of a button. To understand what they do, I'll switch to this image. Some objects in the image should appear pure black. For example, certain parts of her hair. But it's not now. It currently appears gray due to the recording format used in the camera. Other objects should appear as pure white, like the cup here, but it's not, due to the exposure and the white balance setting in the camera. To correct this, I can simply guide Resolve to these 2 objects, and Resolve will automatically perform all the necessary changes to correct the image. Let's take a look at an example. I'll first click on the icon on top of lift here, and guide it towards an object that should be pure black, like for example this part of her hair. I'll hover over it and click, and notice that Resolve now performed all the necessary changes to make this part of the hair pure black, and it added a lot of contrast to the image. Then I'll click on this icon here on top of gain and guide it towards something that should be pure white, for example this part of the cup here. I'll click, and notice that we managed to correct the image very fast with 2 simple clicks. The image still needs some work. In order not to affect my current changes, I'll continue correcting the image in the new node. So I'll go to color, nodes, and add a serial node. Now in the new node, I noticed that the cup here is bright, but it's very bright. I need to reduce its brightness a bit. Now, in order to control the bright areas of the image without affecting the rest of the image, I'll control gain. So I'll drag the slider towards the left, bringing the gain down a bit, much better. And then I need to brighten the rest of the image a bit. To brighten the image without affecting the dark areas or bright areas, we control gamma. So I'll bring gamma up by pulling the slider to the right. And finally, I'll add a bit of contrast. So I'll click on the button 1 here, click on contrast and increase it a bit. And I'll increase saturation. I'll click on saturation and increase it, and much better. Now, if I want to see the image before any changes, I can click this button on top of nodes. And now, this is the original image, and this is the new corrected image, and we managed to achieve all this fast. Now, I want to make the image a bit warm. So I'll click gain and drag it a bit towards yellow. And much better. This is our new image. And these were the absolute basics of color in Resolve. If you want to learn more about color grading in Resolve, you can sign up to our free color grading course, where we cover more grading topics, such as log wheels, the difference between log and primary wheels and when to use each, adding and using an outside node, and how it can help us in color grading, the basics of RGB curves and how to use them, the key tab, and much more. And it also includes a section about using LUTs in Resolve, how to add LUTs and how to properly use them, and control their effect using the key tab, along with downloadable free LUTs. To sign up, click on the link below.